Incorrect. Numbers are not political, they are simply numbers. If you would like me to explain why, remove the logical fallacy from your post, or don't if you are unable to engage at my level. Hey everyone, Noble Xenon here, and welcome back to some more I Am Very Smart, where we, apparently, are not logical enough to deserve an explanation. Let's get started. So, this person says he's a member of Mensa whose test has a high score of 162, yet claims an IQ much beyond that. I simply imagine that 15 is 15. It is simple. I don't know why so many other people don't do this, but I'm also a member of Mensa. My IQ is 200, so I guess I'm just different. Shrugs. You see, you need an IQ of 200 to understand that numbers are simply numbers. Nothing more, nothing less. For this next one, neutrons are way too confusing for your classmates, dude. For context, I brought up STEM and we started listing our interests. After listing what I liked and practiced, he said he does PhD physics in his spare time. I'm a nerd and this was highly suspicious to me, so I then asked, do you mean like college level classes or serious research? He replied research level, and then sent me this as a feat. Not too crazy, but kinda cringe. When we studying atoms in school, I mentioned neutrons and the nucleus, and my science teacher told me to stop talking about them because we hadn't moved on to them yet, and I could confuse other students. They literally made me stop being more intelligent than my classmates. Your mind is just too advanced for this class, please. Slow down, let the rest of us keep up. For this next one, it's pretty clear. So someone comments, work on getting your GED, and the reply, well, with your inability to actually see what is going on and what has been going on, it is clear that my intellect and intelligence level is significantly higher than yours, as I have the ability to think critically and independently, while you are burdened with the need to follow groupthink fueled by media propaganda. Gosh, my GED must have paid off. This next one is titled, The Trials of Talking to the Ugga Boogas. They're cavemen compared to my towering intellect. How to make friends recognize genius. They're here seeking advice or support, but of course you have to achieve a certain IQ score. When using intelligence of ideas as a measure of fluid functioning, I exceed all historical figures known to be genius, excluding possibly Darwin. But that's probably only cause he hasn't measured his intelligence. I make this statement while very familiar with the intellectual achievements of geniuses. My friends can't even realize this though, since they don't even understand my gigabrain ideas about science. Until recently, I literally had just been under an assumption that all my friends were of low mental ability, excluding like 2, who I don't interact with as much before realizing that is significantly less likely than my standards just being insane. If my cognitive achievements were merely Stephen Hawking's, I would be very unsatisfied. Even in the gifted program, it feels like almost everyone I interact with is an Ugga Booga, not capable of reasoning or basic brain function. It feels like everyone is constantly drunk besides me. It confuses me about how such low cognitive ability is sufficient evolutionary to the point where increase isn't necessary anymore. I think a grade skip maybe will be necessary for my well-being. Intelligible interaction feels rarely possible, and I have found myself able to do mathematical and cognitive work at a colleague level. Colleague? I imagine they meant to type college or collegiate level and it just got auto-corrected. This either sounds like a complete troll, or just some gifted kid who thinks they're more intelligent than they actually are, which honestly happens a lot, and I hope they grow out of it. But the OP goes on to say, we all thought it was satire at first, but his follow-ups say otherwise. I mean, continuous trolls are a thing. I mean, there are trolls out there who make entire personas out of this, so I can't really deny the possibility of satire here. For this next one, writing in third person is one thing, and then there's this on LinkedIn from a software logic enthusiast. Her obsession with code and logic started in childhood, long before the relative ubiquity of technology. She was known to all around her as technically gifted, expressed with varying degrees of affection. Her programming intuition is rooted in a time when the fundamentals were unavoidable. She has watched a million coding trends come and go, and while deeply skeptical of herds as a guiding force, has taken lessons and inspiration from many. Now she aims to code with grace, swift and elegant, a prose of logic, efficient yet effortless to understand. Whether she succeeds in that aim she would leave to the judgment of others, though to her quiet delight, Her code has been described as beautiful, at least as often as her face. Just a thing of beauty, her mantra, code with love, is both a guiding principle and a description of her work. She loves what she does, and believes empathy is as important in code as any other more appreciated factor. Well, this takes coding with love to a whole new level. Every line perfectly crafted for maximum beauty. Wait, why is it spitting out a bunch of errors? Does the computer not appreciate my beautiful code? This next one says it's gross to talk about your IQ. Anyways, mine is 130. It's gross to talk about, in my opinion. 130 here and people call me crazy. Makes sense, I am indeed going insane. Yet you just couldn't stop yourself from telling us your score. And someone else replies, I'm between 115 and 125 in Mexico City, and just feel like everybody is mentally incapable or that I'm going insane. At this point, I don't know if I'm stupid or they are, I'm just not sure. 115 to 125 doesn't even sound high enough to feel isolating. I feel like that's a level where you could talk to average IQ people just fine. So I feel like there might be a different source to the struggle not related to IQ, but I can't point out exactly what, because I'm not a psychologist. So, if you enjoy this highly intellectually stimulating content, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. This next one is actually on a dating profile. Wow, you should not go out with me if you are a foodie. Eating is a bit of a waste of time, no. I prefer intellectual consumption than physical molecules, as if your brain isn't also composed of physical molecules. Also, pretty sure you need food to fuel that big brain of yours. And now, how many fedoras does this man cry into every night? The lowest form of retort, the uneducated and imbecilic resort to juvenile derision, as if it makes them strong rather than the weakness it portrays to everyone but the simpletons among us. Trying to overcompensate for a lack of intellect is always so transparent. However, I don't wish to debate with someone so shallow of thought as to think that this is the response of an adult. Low IQ people respond in that fashion, and to bother with them is futile. You wouldn't even realize the extent to which you are outmatched. By now, in the immortal words of Mr. Wonderful, you are dead to me. 3 hand-waving emojis. Bless your heart. And the reply, tell me you were relentlessly bullied in school without telling me. But it keeps going, as the so-called intellectual comes up with this response. 3 crying laughing emojis. That assertion is about as idiotic as your other statements. You evidently have no clue about one single thing you comment on. Your lunacy bores me. I don't have time to waste on a low IQ individual. However, I wish you well with your trans quote woman. I'm sure you two will be happy together, though she might want to soften up the look to be less obvious. In the immortal words of Fez, I said good day. Bless your heart. I am not even going to get into the insanity of that comment. And the reply, are you even gonna tip your fedora before you go? This dude must have a whole collection of fedoras. Wouldn't be surprised if the number of fedoras he owns is higher than his IQ. For this next one, I watch movies on 2 to 5 times speed, sometimes even faster. I don't see the point of deliberately slowing myself down. Most movies are made so even the lowest common denominator can keep up. If you're sitting in a theater, you're forced to go at their pace. If you're watching by yourself, there's no reason to not go as fast as you can. Imagine deliberately slowing down how fast you're reading a book because someone on the other side of the earth is 5 times slower than you. I don't care about the music, suspense, minute details and facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, etc. Not that much of this is lost if your brain can keep up. I just want the story, the ideas, the words, the meat and potatoes. For me, movies are just glorified audiobooks. I have no intention to feel something or be entertained. I just want to upload information into my brain that can help me understand myself and humans better. Dude sounds like a robot, like some sort of AI who's trying to take in as much information about humans as possible. Anyway, anything lost by speeding up is greatly outweighed by how many more movies you can watch in the same amount of time. Unless you're immortal or literally the only thing you do is watch movies and you plan on watching every good movie ever, speeding up is simply the smart thing to do. Alright, anyone can watch things however they want. Like, you do you, but don't pretend that watching things faster makes you more intelligent. And now a review on a confederacy of dunces, giving it 2 stars. Also, wow, this review is from 2007. I know I'm out on my own on this one, but I detest this book. I really think it glorifies whining to an extent never before seen in the human condition. Everyone I know loves this book, and I know I'm in a minority here, but Christ, that this book is so popular with people in my age bracket and not so popular with people older or younger really makes me wonder if it's part of the problem or a reflection of the boring, whiny apathy of my generation. But if this book has any redeemable aspects at all, it is that it highlights just how lazy and worthless my generation is. It's reflected in the reverence people my age give this book, a book whose central lesson seems to be whining is funny and doing things is bad, for dark astounding irony about inaction and the paradoxes of a corrupt society. Read Catch-22 or some of the more comical writers of astrophysics tomes. Confederacy of Dunces is the Forrest Gump of literature, and I'd like to never have another conversation about this book as long as I live. Even though Forrest Gump was a book first before it was a movie, so I don't know what you're on about there. And for this next one, I guess having an imagination as a kid is a bad thing. So someone says, I remember when I was a kid, I thought in older years the world was actually black and white, XD. Same bruh, crying laughing emoji. But the intellectual had to reply, these people make me feel like a genius. They were a kid, lol. Obviously they don't think that anymore. Dude, don't be rude. I was a kid, a very young kid. I'd bet you believed the same thing when you were very young. When I was a little kid, I didn't think that. That's why I feel like I was born a genius. My brain just towering over all the other kids in the playground. And a couple more people saying same to the original comment. You might not be as smart as you think you are if you feel the need to brag about it. Food for thought. Yeah, stuff you did as a kid, not exactly brag-worthy. And someone else comments, I'm so different from the others. All the other kids pick their boogers and eat them. They eat glue and crayons, and I'm over here becoming a lawyer. I'm over here being the CEO of a worldwide corporation. Those other kids are no match for me. Ha, they should know who's the boss around here. Watch out, we may have found the real-life boss baby here. I mean the so-called intellectual, not this person. TF, apparently finding yourself smart is a crime? And they go on to reply, I was joking, by the way. No one said it was a crime, though? Just a little cringe. Dude, you're not better than anyone just because you didn't believe such a thing as a kid. This next one was quite the little director on r/Lego. Lego Wakeboard. Context, please, was a Lego movie villain using glue on stuff. Have you not seen the Lego movie? No, I haven't. I made movies as a kid, but the family-friendly film doesn't appeal to me. I made The Thing with some clay Cloverfield featuring almost every shot, and another about monsters invading a town that had all kinds of toys. I made Humvees and helicopters, and tried to give everything that wasn't a shot-for-shot remake a dark vibe. I wish I could watch them now. That was almost 20 years ago. I was quite a little director. And there are people who are saying kids do make little movies, but usually don't brag about them when you grow up, do you? This next one thinks the views on his content are in decline because he's too intelligent for most viewers. Not even the algorithm can understand this intellectual. Also, I'm just now getting into the workflow of making regular content. Never ever have I made regular content before, and I'm now just getting fewer views per video. Now, this is just an observation. I'm not complaining. It is what it is, and I'm not discouraged by it. I just think the simplest explanation for this is, in fact, the lack of intelligence of people. If there's a simpler one, I'd love to hear it. I will take this as a challenge. Problem acknowledged. Too intelligent to be viewed. Next step will be figuring out how to make unintelligent people watch intelligent content. Tough. But if there's a will, there's a way. I've already had some success by just posting a tweet that the normies found outrageous and grabbed their pitchforks, LOL. But that's not really gonna bring you fame, is it? Also, there are plenty of science channels out there who are quite successful. The thing is, they know how to simplify their explanations for a wide audience. That's kinda the key there. Ah yes, this next one is so smart you can't beat your idiot friends because of bad luck. I don't play Scrabble because A, I have shit luck, I always draw letters that can't spell anything more than 3 letters long, and B, I have a much bigger vocabulary than my friends because I love words and language. Yes, I'm throwing shade at my friends, especially the ones who think they have a future as a rapper. You're in your 30s and have a tiny vocabulary. You can't rap. If you can't find words that are more than 3 letters long, you're probably not as smart as you think you are. And for this next one, an intellectual calls someone a low IQ slave consumer drone on r/raw pet food of all places. Redditors sure love to bring up IQ in the most random places. So the OP is concerned that their dog has been off raw food for a few months. And someone comments, just as some animals age, they develop an allergy to it. Happened to me as a human as well. Ate too many grapes, now I can't eat one without a mild allergic reaction. And the reply from the intellectual, you have no clue about biochemistry, immunity, or the cause of disease, so you trust everything any authority figure would say, even though nutritional science is basically pseudoscience at this point, with contradicting studies. Sickness and allergic reactions are just part of nature, is what you have been led to believe. Lol, you sound like a low IQ slave consumer robot drone. Sure I do. This next one was posted on a rhetorical question on how it feels to be smarter than everyone. You know, that kind of question attracts all of the pseudo-intellectuals. My tested IQ is 163. I am smarter than everyone. Sure it is, sure. Just throw up a random number out there and hope Redditors believe you. Then be shocked when they don't. This next one is a champion of the spelling bees. I will request you to look up what the definition of what a dude is before you recklessly fling verbal slang at a stranger like that. I was reading college level by the time I reached the 2nd grade. On top of that, I was championing the spelling bees as well, clearly not the grammar bees though. Although that's not really a thing now, is it? I know quite well what the definitions in the encyclopedias were long before even the internet was even introduced to the masses. While I agree that democracy is the mechanism, you obviously need to revisit your grade school education and look up the fact that our founding fathers identified us as a republic. And now watch out, his IQ is 143. Yeah, he kinda is. I dare you to try stealing one of the hundreds of things he did, including planes, cars, hundreds of thousands all around the world. I bet you get caught before you even get inside. Crying, laughing emoji. Oh, and the fact that he was literally a child makes him 10,000 times even more of a genius. My IQ is 143. That's above average, by the way. And I barely got away with sneaking extra snacks for my grandma at the same age as Colton. Another rolled over crying laughing emoji. Because everyone knows thievery is the mark of genius. And Short Sack comments, I watched a true crime murder interrogation where a guy said he had a 150 IQ, then proceeded to not ask for a lawyer. Life in prison for Mr. Smarty Pants. This next one's deviating alright. Demonstrably false on the first count. The second may be true, but the occupational nonsense is silly. There aren't 100 million female doctors and lawyers on the planet. If you want to pick a fight, though, I'm always game. I'm an engineer and entrepreneur, former child prodigy, with an IQ 3 standard deviations right of the median. I've met 3 people in my life whose intellect towered over my own. One was a billionaire, the other 2 are fairly obscure Nobel laureates. Guys, post is funny, chuckle and move on. Where's your Nobel Prize, though? I think that because I really am a master and subconsciously have a very strong soul and spirit that just tries to be the best at what I can do in the arguing is because I often get into arguments with others because they just don't get on with me that well, because I usually think of myself as a master in a situation, and maybe it also logically stands for my conflict that I have with myself. All of that was one sentence, by the way, because my high IQ sometimes really gives me the problem of whether I should listen more to my mind, which is connected to my high IQ, or should I rely on things that are not logical like philosophy and spirituality, i.e. what my heart or my 7th sense tells me? Your 7th sense? What happened to the 6th? And this last one understands pretty much most sciences. I don't know what my IQ is. I work in a small town at a gas station on graveyard shift. I'm certainly far more intelligent than most of my coworkers. They can barely count change, and I have a basic understanding of quantum mechanics, relativity, and pretty much most sciences, including computer science. I do enjoy the night shift being alone, and yet I still have to interact with my coworkers and customers. Dark humor is a good way to navigate encounters. I admit I do find entertainment in playing little games with people, sleight of hand or simple psychological tricks, all in fun. Why do they always have to mention quantum mechanics or quantum physics? It's that word quantum, it really makes them sound super intelligent. So, I'd like to thank all of my members, especially Amethyst Phoenix, Catalan Cormendi, and Mike Hawk. Hold up. You can join simply by clicking the join button below. Feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell if you enjoyed it, and feel free to comment if you've got something on your mind.